This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
As remote caregivers, as long-distance caregivers, I think that moral support is something that we have to provide the best that we can, and as much as needed.
Caring for aging parents or other loved ones while working, raising children, and trying to live your own life? Wondering how to find the time for your personal health and happiness? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast, the show where real family caregivers share how to be happy and healthy while caring for others. Now, here's your host, family caregiver and certified caregiving consultant, Elizabeth Muller.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast, which is part of the Whole Care Network. If this is your first time listening, welcome. This is a show produced bi-weekly to help family caregivers integrate self-care and caregiving into their lives. Each episode has an accompanying show notes page, so if you would like more details about the topics, products, and resources we speak about, or to see the related photos, you'll find the show notes by going on the website, happyhealthycaregiver.com, and underneath the podcast menu, click the image or episode number for today's show. The link will also be in your podcast episode description on your favorite podcast platform. Do you know about the WCN University? It's a digital course library for family caregivers. My first course is available called 6 Steps to Infusing Self-Care in Your Caregiving Life. There are also a ton of other courses in a variety of different topics. Search and select what is most helpful to you right now. Learn more at wcnuniversity.com. I'd like to take a moment to thank our episode sponsor, Rare Patient Voice. Do you want to earn cash in exchange for your opinion? Rare Patient Voice, or RPV, helps connect researchers with patients and family caregivers for over 700 diseases and conditions. For patients and caregivers, RPV provides the opportunity to voice their opinions to improve medical products and services while earning cash rewards. Rare Patient Voice, helping patients and caregivers share their voices. If you're interested, join the RPV panel by going to rarepatientvoice.com/Happy Healthy Caregiver. For this episode segment of What I'm Reading, I tend to like a book that helps me learn about a culture while I'm also getting wrapped up in the story. In a recent read called Stay With Me by author Ayobami Adebayo, I'm sure I butchered this person's name, I'm so sorry. I learned a bit about culture in Nigeria and the pressure that women can be under in marriage and motherhood. This was a heavy read as it encompasses much grief around infertility and family disappointments. Entering in a world with so much grief made it difficult to want to pick up and read the book. But I had to know how it would all turn out. A messy life for this particular married couple, and through silent decisions that they each were making, thinking it was the best for each other. Kind of reminded me of things that we can sometimes do in our caregiving situation. And this is also an example of how societal pressures can wreak havoc on families. I did end up giving this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So if you're looking for some kind of an escape or a fun read, this really is not the book for you. But if you don't mind an emotional story, give this one a try. Of course, I'll link to it in the show notes page. For my favorite thing that I want to share with you, I believe in the importance of scheduling playtime or fun future activities. I'm looking forward to my daughter coming home to visit with some of her NICU nurse friends. They're arriving this weekend. And one of my daughter's strengths is planning a fun agenda. I'm also looking forward to an upcoming weekend with close friends of ours. We're going to go to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge area. One of the things that was on my 2024 list this year was to go to Dollywood, which I've never been to. So seeing my 2024 list, my friends seeing it, is what prompted them to invite Jason and I to come. Another thing I'm looking forward to is that my son is graduating in May from college at University of Georgia. And we're going to be celebrating this big milestone and pairing it with a family vacation to Costa Rica. We have found a great 11-day package for your company called Wing Buddy that we're excited about. So I share all of this, not to like brag about my stuff that I'm looking forward to, but really just to kind of share that sometimes the anticipation of fun is part of the fun. And so if you are deep in a caregiving season, sometimes that fun can sound like planning a fun can sound exhausting, but this is something that you can easily delegate to other people. Even one night of fun can be recharging. And perhaps not only will they plan the fun, but they'll plan the backup care that you may need as well. Or simply take yourself out on a date. That's something that resonated with me from a previous podcast guest that I had on, Ashley Bendixson, where she talked about dating herself. So I'm going to share a couple of these resources, the 2024 list, a reminder on how to create one for yourself, the podcast with Ashley Bendixson, and the Costa Rica trip that we're planning to take. And maybe something there will just kind of spark something for you. Let's meet today's caregiver in the spotlight. Paula Muller helped care for her grandmother and has a lifelong passion for technology applied to healthcare. Paula grew up in Chile and was very close to her grandmother and remains close to her mother and her father. Her passions for family and technology came together in her product that we learn about in the show called CareLink 360. And in this episode, we also discuss the caregiver guilt that comes with living from a distance from those who are requiring care. We talk about ideas to create connection with both verbal and nonverbal care recipients, and methods to infuse joy and energy just into your daily life, and the ways technology can be part of the caregiver's care team. Enjoy the show. Welcome, Paula, to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast.
Happy to be here, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very excited. Yes, I know about the Happy Healthy Caregiver from the Whole Care Network and our friend Chris, and how valuable the network is and how valuable your show is in the network.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Well, we, I believe in mindset, like how mindset is so important in caregiving. And when I transitioned care from me being the primary caregiver for mom to my sister Susie, I created this jar for her, which has like 150 different quotes and sayings and things that really lifted me up and resonated. And would love to get your thoughts on one of these today, Paula, to kick off our show on the right foot here. So it says, you don't need to leave joy behind as you navigate your new normal.
Yes, very good. Actually, I was thinking about one you asked me in preparation for this show, what is a caregiver tip? And I thought, joy, you have to laugh. Laugh is a good medicine, and laughing with your loved ones, and that brings me so many memories of me, my mom, my grandma. We grew together, and we were the three going everywhere when I was growing up in Chile, and we laughed a lot. I mean, cup of teas and afternoons and laughing and remembering, sort of reminiscent and joy. I think is important. It's a good therapy. It makes you feel good, and it resonate and it vibrate, and the good vibe stay with you even after the moment that you enjoy.
Yeah, you can just see it in your face for those that are watching the video of the podcast, that the reminiscence, like people just light up like when you start talking about family and talking about the laughter and the joy, because we talk a lot about the sadder things that happen in caregiving, but it's not all bad. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff that happens, and these are our lives, these are our family members, and we have to laugh sometimes to kind of as a mechanism and as a tool really to thrive in our caregiving season,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
contagious. Like it is contagious.
yeah,
If you
it
start
is.
laughing, your care recipient's going to start laughing. And
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's just remembering the good times that brings you a positive energy, and it makes you put everything in perspective, right? Because things
Mhm,
are not easy, but we don't have to just for nobody it's easy. Everyone
mhm.
has their own challenges, but if we lean on each other, and if we laugh together, that brings you the energy to put everything, as I said, in perspective, and move on, and really reaffirm what you are doing, because you're doing it for love, caring for a loved one.
Yes. It's self-care. Laughter is self-care because you mentioned the key word, like one of my definition of self-care is something that's going to bring you peace of mind, but energy, you mentioned energy, that
Yeah,
energizes you. Like you feel much different after a laughing spell or fit than you did before. So there's
yeah,
something that's chemically happening to
absolutely,
do that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your caregiving journey, Paula. Like, take us back a little bit and tell us about like why this space, this care economy space, is important to you, and how it all initiated with your grandmother.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as I was mentioning before, we were very close, my mom, my grandmother, and myself. And really, the first direct experience that I had as a caregiver was with my grandmother, even though I was living here in the US already, and she was living in Brazil. But I I felt I traveled many times and I was very fortunate to be able to travel and be with her, and spend time with her through her older years, when she died of Parkinson and Alzheimer's.
Mm.
So at the end, it was very difficult for her to take care of herself. But still, we make the effort to do trips together when she was able. But in between, I had my scare moments, because she was sometimes the trips going a little bit of an hour away from the home was a little bit too much for her. So she was a little bit fading out, and I was just scared. How do I take care of her
Yeah.
in the middle of the road? But we
What did you
still did it.
do? Tell us about more the travel memories that you had and some of the challenges from that and maybe some of the rewards as well.
Yes, I mean, the reward was that she wanted to do it. She wanted to spend time with me, and I wanted to spend time with her.
Hmm.
The challenges was, how do you care from a fragile older person when I didn't have the medical experience of how to take care of her? So even though we had those challenges, like I was saying, we were going to a market that she loved, to a pottery market. She
Ah.
loved it. That was something that we were doing before, and she wanted to repeat that experience. And I wanted to give her that
Mm.
experience to repeat something that she loved to do. But it was a challenge, as I said, because of her health. Uh,
Mm.
and just as with an older adult, you have they have the willingness to do more, but sometimes health doesn't allow you to do more. So how to
Mm.
pace the trip with the energy, with the excitement, and at the end coming back home safe. That
Safe
was
and in one piece,
and
right? Like,
safe and in one piece, exactly.
uh,
But it was all worth it, because at the end of the day, it was her joy, it was my joy, um, and I was very fortunate that I was able to spend her last hours before
mm,
she passed away with her. Um, Even though I was extremely sad that she
of
left,
course.
but I felt that at ease that I was able to see and spend time, even though she wasn't speaking at that time. But still, we were able to pray together and listen to music, and it's incredible, the energy of just being with her and sharing all the love that we had for so many years.
I love that you bring up the ways that you can communicate with your loved one with them being nonverbal, that
Yeah,
there's more than communication than just words coming out of your
it is.
mouth.
It is. It is.
And that probably was a lot of trial and error for you. And it's also like the mitigating the travel where she wanted to go to different places and knowing kind of what was more realistic and
Yeah.
what she could handle, and finding, I'm sure, creative ways that you could infuse some of that same type of experience, but in a safer way.
In the safer way. It's important. It's important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's caregiving is so much of a balancing act of keeping your loved ones safe, but at the same time trying to share experiences. I mean, and just you do things for them that you know are important. You know your loved ones through the shared experiences. So with that you can relate, and things you can make those special moments. That I mean, I wasn't living with her, and it was a trip of once a year, probably twice a year the most.
Yeah.
But we made the most that we were able to do with that.
Yeah, and you show up. I mean, showing up in caregiving is not necessarily about being right next to somebody. That there's a lot of things that you can do as a remote caregiver and a
Yeah.
remote support for your mother to help support her and caring for grandma. Like, what were some of those things, Paula? Like when you weren't present physically with her next to grandma, like what are some of the things that you did to help support from a distance?
So always being in touch. This is very important, and I experience that a lot with my mom right now, because my mom is the primary caregiver for my father.
Ah,
So now I see her where she needs the most, that constant reinforcement and talking, and knowing that I'm there with her, and I listen to her and without judgment. That is very important, because her mental health is what I'm worried the most, because she's at the level with my father, these 24/7 hours that you live with someone, that you feel that you have the responsibilities of everything, that you have to take care of the bills, the repairs in the house, and the care of your loved one.
yeah.
So as remote caregivers, as long distance caregivers, I think that moral support is something that we have to provide the best that we can, and as much as needed to the other one.
Yeah, you're part of the care team, and you are going back to that word energy. Your
Yeah,
conversations with your mom and the listening to her about what is going on and being that sounding board for her is energizing her. Like it is allowing her to kind of get back into that day-to-day ring of duties and make it sustainable for her. And I'm sure that, without a doubt, I know that you would be there in a heartbeat if she needed you
oh,
in a bigger way. Talk about that a little bit, as Paula, as you shared with me, your roots from Chile and being Latino, and that it's not a question, right, of whether or not you're going to show up and care for your loved ones. How does the way that you were raised kind of inform caregiving?
yeah. I mean that was something that, as you said, is not a question. I mean, I hear stories from my grandmother taking care of her own mother when she was older, and she had to go and live with her and her children. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't a question. I mean, my mom needed to me, and the same happened with my mom. My mom never questioned my grandmother, even though we are originally from Chile, but my grandmother, the pioneer and forward-looking woman and independent that she was, she decided on her 60s, I'm going to reinvent myself and I'm going to go and live in Brazil.
Wow.
Okay, grandma wants to do that. She does it. So her last year she lived in Brazil. But for my mom, it wasn't a question. My grandmother needed help. She wasn't doing well. As I mentioned, she had several conditions, but the most critical was Parkinson. And through the Parkinson, she developed Alzheimer's. But so my mom just was spending months sometime taking care of my grandmother and making sure that she would have the care that she needed. And I have mentioned that before. My mom, I realized from both of them, caregiving is not only the medical care or the household chores, but it's also being the advocate. How many times my mom was very feisty with the doctors, and even in a language that she didn't manage, she was really making sure that the doctors understood what my grandmother needed. And in several scare situations, she just was making that my grandmother was feeling the best possible and recovering from many situations where others would have said, no, this is not working.
Right.
But so being the advocate for your loved one is something that I learned from them, that you just not accept a no for an answer. You just keep moving forward and fighting for your loved one.
Yeah.
So that is remarkable, and I learned that from both of them.
I think that, you are an advocate because you are the expert in your loved one. Like
Yeah.
they might know the ins and outs of a certain condition, but how does that apply? How is the loved one going to adopt? How are they going to respond? Down to the foods that they like and what makes them comfortable. All of that is our expertise, right? As family caregivers. And I love that you shared, about your Latino culture. And do you think that growing up with that mindset that you are going to, be there for your loved ones, does it make you less resentful of the role when it comes to be?
That's a very good question. It really depends. And I say, for me, is not a question, and I will jump into that. And to be honest, Elizabeth, I feel a little bit of guilt that I'm not there because I'm so far away. But if necessary, I wouldn't doubt to jump into the role. However, I'm very fortunately in the time of my life where I am. But if I see a younger Latino, a younger woman, and she's in the same with the same dilemma that I would have, I can feel that even though you know that that is your responsibility, you may be resentful because you are leaving behind so many things that you didn't experience.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very fortunate with my life. It hasn't been easy, for nobody is, but I have had the fortune to have a rich and with wonderful experience life. And probably I'm a positive person that
Yes.
see the things half full instead of half empty. I don't know if I was in my 20s and I have to be a caregiver and then give up all a profession or a career, probably will be a different answer.
Different story. Yeah, different. And, I appreciate you bringing up the caregiver guilt because I think that no matter whose situation, like the guilt creeps up, right? Like it's just a natural thing that we want to be all these things to all these different people. How do you manage the guilt? How do you mitigate it? What do you do when those feelings kind of come up? Is there something that you say to yourself? Is there something that you do? Like what works for you?
Well, I don't think I found the magic the magic in how to manage the guilt. the only thing that I can do is I try to be there for my loved ones as much as I can, and just be, as I said, the sounding board, and reach out to my mom, reach out to my dad, reach out to my in-laws. With my husband, my in-laws, they live in Switzerland, so from
Oh
both
my
sides, my
goodness.
husband and I both are long distance caregivers.
Wow,
Yeah.
Paula. Yeah, like that's, I mean, what I tell people as caregivers and myself sometimes too is that the guilt is a natural feeling, and we can learn to mitigate it. But I say replace the guilt with another G word, and that's grace. Like give yourself
Yeah.
grace for what, the sheer volume of things and that are on your plate. And you've got these relationships to consider, but you have other relationships to consider and other callings that you are out there, which we're going to definitely get to that. I'm curious though, as a remote caregiver for both your in-laws and your parents now, like, is there some kind of a expectation that you set with your in-laws and your parents about like how often you're going to visit, or how often you're going to communicate, or what kinds of, like, do they know, or is it just kind of it unfolds as it unfolds?
No, there's no expectations. It's just that you always feel that you're close to both of them. And the time that we spend together, we try to make the most out of it. And so I think there well, I don't have an answer, Elizabeth,
Yeah.
to be honest, but it's just the situation that I've been, to be honest, most of my adult really living abroad is a longer time in my life than living with my parents.
Yeah. So you're figuring
So
it out. You're figuring it out. And like I say that because I live in Georgia. My mom, not out of international, but mom lived in Michigan with my
yeah,
sister. And more so for my sister's case than my mom's case. Like sometimes I could feel her stress level coming up and her wanting us to like be there in a second. And I had to kind of manage that a little bit with being a full-time work person and raising kids. Like, so what ended up working for our situation is that I manage expectations to say, I will come up once a quarter. Let's communicate about when you want me to come once a quarter. I can either relieve you so that you can go visit your kids or do something you want to do, or work side by side with you, or whatever you need that to look like. And my younger sister and I would do different trips, so then that was like more people kind of helping, and that seemed to work. So that then she kind of had this older sister expectation of when we were coming and that relief was coming. And I just say that because I don't know if that will help somebody in a remote caregiving situation, but we didn't start with that. It just kind of came because it helped me feel less guilty too, that I knew I had a trip planned. I knew I was doing my role. I knew I could also be that communicator for my sister and that remote cheerleader for her,
right.
to help give her that energy that she needed to kind of do everything. Well, I want to switch gears with you for a moment. So you are a smart human being, Paula. Like I was reading your bio, you've got an MS in biomedical engineering from Chile, working with visually impaired, analysis work in Switzerland. Now that makes sense of your in-laws being there, which help people prevent epileptic attacks, a PhD. You've done postdoc work at Rutgers and Parkinson patients, and I can go on and on and on, which is
Thank you.
amazing. And you clearly have a passion for using technology to help the healthcare industry and the care economy that we're living in. Why is this work important to you?
Well, it has been always important. In I love technology, but technology without particular use is meaningless to me. It has to apply to something, and that's again, I've been very fortunate that to have the opportunity to use my skills and my work to develop products and services that ended up in people's hands. Now, a long time ago, 9 years ago or so, I decided I wasn't happy in my previous company. It wasn't working. So I said, I'm going to jump into the entrepreneurial world. without knowing anything. So I always say it was like me jumping on January 1st in the cold Hudson River naked without knowing anything.
You know what? If you would have known all that, you might not have done it. And I hear you.
Probably not, probably.
Yeah.
But the realization at that time was clear. I mean, my life as we have been talking, being a long distance caregiver, I was very concerned about how to stay in touch with my loved ones. And at the same time, I noticed that there was this technology gap between older adults and the rest of us using smartphones and even and we are so easily we can stay in touch with the chat with the text, but many older adults are not. So they start feeling that they are invisible, that they are not being part of the conversation. They are secondhand receptors of the news because someone have to tell them, otherwise they don't know what is going on with the rest. So that's what I wanted to address, and that's how my company evolved, and with learning about older adults and the senior living space, and therefore caregiving. It's all tied together. That's how I start educating myself and realizing how prevalent is dementia and Alzheimer's and diseases, mental diseases as well. So the product evolved in this tool that help caregivers connect with their loved ones, but also help them to care, to help them in the care plan, in the care management, at a distance and also close by. So that's what I'm so passionate because it's my life with my family. And I see that is so much needed for so many other caregivers. I mean, the care economy is something that is growing. Aging is something that is growing, is not changing, and dementia, really the highest risk of developing dementia is age, and our
Wow.
population worldwide is aging quite significant. But we don't have to consider that this is something that, even though we don't have a cure, we can live with that and help our loved ones live the best that they can, and also help our caregivers manage and basically relate and find the good moments, the joy that we were talking at the
Yes.
beginning, even with the challenges of dementia.
There's nothing I like more than like a personal story of like something that you've a lived experience and you've taken this, knowledge that you have and all your smart brains and really put that to make changes for folks in the care economy. And so your product is called CareLink 360.
That's correct.
And we're going to link to that in the show notes for sure, so that people can and tell us a little bit more about it. Like what does CareLink 360 do specifically?
Thank you. So basically, what we have developed is the whole platform, and it consists on one hand, the older adult receive a dedicated device that looks like a picture frame. And then the family members and care providers install an app in their smartphone. And from the app, we can make the link that they can communicate with the screen of their loved ones. We call the Digital Health Companion, DXC.
Okay.
The idea of the Digital Health Companion is that it's a super simple device for the older adults to use. It doesn't require username, password. It doesn't, it's a dedicated device, so it doesn't, they are not going to get confused. They are not going to go and start buying things in Amazon because it doesn't have a web browser. It's really a closed, secure, encrypted and private system where your loved one will be in contact with only the persons that he or she needs to be in contact with.
Amazing.
So
so it's very seamless for the older adult. Like there's not a lot of gadgets. Like you said, it looks like a picture frame. So let's say I'm the caregiver and I've got the app and that CareLink 360 and I'm calling, my in-laws in Mexico. I live in Mexico. What would happen on their end? Like what happens on the
So on their end, so from the app, you just press the button, you make the video connection with them, and you just show up on their screen. They don't have to do absolutely
I'd be like,
anything.
hey, yeah,
Exactly. You just show up.
that's amazing.
So
And
they don't have to do absolutely anything. And then from the app, you can send them pictures that are going to immediately show up. So by default, this device is always connected. But by default, this device shows all the pictures in a slideshow that of your loved ones.
oh,
So
I love that.
they always are going to be seeing the latest pictures that
Which are
that
the
you send.
memories, right? Which bring you
Right.
joy. Like it all is kind of connected. I love that because I've sent that as a gift to many relatives, just the picture frame part of it,
Yeah.
you know. And my mom and my dad would watch it like it was television. And it would just like they would eat breakfast in the morning and they would watch I just love this frame so much, they would say. And I could email pictures to the
Mhm.
frame. And so I'm sure it's something now you're doing it through with this app. It's so amazing. And then to have this connection where they don't have to worry about and it's only for certain people. So I know we're going to work together on getting a discount for the Happy
Yes.
Healthy Caregiver community. I'm going to link to the discount page. We'll add that when it's available, hopefully by the time the end of the show
Sure.
publishes.
Yeah.
But for now, we can't tell it to you. So you're going to have to go to the show notes page to check it out.
Yeah.
And you know, you're speaking my language with this whole technology being a part of the care team. So I just had an opportunity recently with another client of mine to go to the Nashville market on a news segment. And that was my whole segment on this local news is sharing about how technology can really be a part of the caregiver's care team because there's not enough human beings to help. Like I just read a stat for a long time, it was 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day. But I just read in AARP magazine that it is now 12,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every day. And, you know, technology can be overwhelming for them. And we need extra hands and ways that we can feel that peace of mind again, that comfort level, that we can be there without being there. So
Yeah.
high five to you, Paula, for like making waves in this space. And
Yes.
like, I love that companies like you are doing that because we can't wait, right? We can't wait for someone up there to kind of figure it out. It is these entrepreneurs who have a passion, who have a story that are making it happen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, I mean, you are absolutely right. We have to find ways to simplify or really is to extend. My concept was to extend your outreach. Of course, you're going to be there, but what do you do when you cannot? I mean, the pictures, like you said, are so valuable. The same thing my in-laws are saying. They are in touch with what is happening with their grandchildren, with us, with their other children, because the pictures are just there, and it just give them comfort. They are because they know what is happening, right? They know where they are spending the holidays, and it's for us also when we have a video conference with them through CareLink 360. It's an opportunity to share. They always ask it, where were you with this new picture that just arrived? And it's an opportunity to talk, to find a common
Yes.
topic of discussion.
Sometimes it can be a struggle for people to find those connections and ways to kind of have that conversation. And again, it's like nonverbal too, like just by seeing it. I know even the picture frame element, the digital picture frame element, when my mom moved in an assisted living community, like having that connection with the professional caregivers and the staff that would come in and they would see it, and that would provide this connection between like a perfect stranger seeing that, because even though those strangers can't call your folks through that, but they can still see what's being visually displayed on there and connect through that.
Exactly. No, the pictures are great. And then in addition, through the CareLink 360 apps, you can send them reminders and alerts. So if a doctor's appointment, a medication reminder, exercises, fluid, and we have introduced the last 6 months a lot of features, including what we call well-being checkups. So you can ask them, how did you sleep last night? How are you doing today? And they just answer on the screen they have two buttons, yes, no, and then you immediately get notified on the CareLink 360 app what was their answer. Or so we can get polls, we can get surveys for them, and always the concept is extremely simple for them to use. And I'm very excited about other feature that we incorporated, that we're partnering with fabulous content providers. So we are pushing to the device the digital health companion, videos, sing-alongs, videos, reading books that we converted into videos that they can follow. And we have a bunch of new content that we are incorporated, that even the family members from the companion app, the CareLink and companion app, they can start remotely. So your app can become the remote control for your loved one in order to make it super simple for them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it all. Keep going, Paula. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And I know, like, we also have a connection of, the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast is part of the Whole Care Network, and and Care 360 is involved with the Whole Care Network, and particularly like the Whole Care Network radio. So we have so talk a little bit about that and some of the things that are coming out.
This is super excited because the Whole Care Network radio, it has also an app. So from the app, you can listen to the music that is, but also all the podcasts. You can even download the podcast, and then from the app, the Whole Care Network radio app, you can also access the information of all the contents that is in the Whole Care Network, the content of the podcast and all the members of the Whole Care Network. So you have these resources available from the app, and then we're going to be expanding on the radio with multiple content. So it's not only the caregiving podcast that you have access, but also curated music and other shows. So it's been a whole syndicated network of programs and content, and much more is coming down the
Yes. And music is such a trigger too. Like, I mean, obviously the podcasts are amazing. We know that. Like, there's not just mine, but all my fellow podcasters. I think we are a great collection of content, as you said. But the music is also an initiator of memories and things, and they make you feel calm and all of that. So lot of good pairings there. I can see that you've been busy on partnerships and getting different things going. How do you take care of Paula? Like, I mean, you're a busy lady, you're a remote caregiver, you're changing the world with technology in this care economy. Like, what do you do to take care of you?
So I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful partner and husband, and both of us, we enjoy outdoors, going bicycle. So our trips is and I'm not no sport person, but so the compromise was to have a tandem. So we go bicycle in a bicycle for two, and that's again, the trips is the opportunity to have memories and be together and enjoy something that we do together.
So you do like a destination trip and then some type of tandem bike ride in that. I tried that one time, tandem with my my son in Mackinac Island in Michigan. You can bike around the island.
Nice.
And it's not easy. I was on the back though. He was having to, I feel like the person in the front has got to do like a lot of the work. And then I was like taking pictures and I was keeping my feet moving, but so fun. I love that you guys do that together too, because I think that helps with like built-in accountability. It's a twofer. You're spending time together and traveling and all of that stuff. So
I think that had contributed to the length of our marriage, that we are able to be together with.
What do you mean? Tell me more.
Well, the thing is, I think in a marriage, you have to find joy being together, and and I think the fact that we have that commonality, that we can share experiences in sometimes it can be a little bit challenging because going up a hill on a tandem is not always very easy, and both of them have to pedal in the same way.
Yes,
I've been doing that for over.
it is kind of a analogy for life, right? An analogy for caregiving is the tandem bike ride. My husband and I are we've been married 27 years, and we are just joined a pickleball league. So we are doing a pickleball league here locally in Atlanta, and we have our first match together. Like, he's played separately and I played separately with different people on our team, but we played together this weekend. So that'll be exciting to see how
Absolutely.
that. I think there's finding ways that of things that you can do together is great. It's a great thing to.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get your thoughts on a couple.
Okay,
So
great.
the Just For You Daily Self-Care Journal, I've got some prompts picked out for you, Paula. So let's see what your thoughts are. What was your favorite activity to do as a child?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I always remember that when I was growing up, as a girl, you're supposed to do girl things, but and my brother was getting the mechanos and the pieces that you can build things together. So what I enjoyed was using my brother's toys to build things.
Yeah, like his Tinker Toys and Lincoln
Yeah.
Logs and Legos and
The Legos,
model
exactly.
trains, and yeah, all of you were like, that looks more interesting. That says a lot about the things that you still like to build and invent to this day. How do you unwind before bedtime? Do you have like a ritual that you do before you go to bed?
No, I don't, but I do watch television. So that's sort of the
What
way.
kind of television? I'm curious.
Oh, I get so I we have well, actually we don't have a television, but we have a subscription to Netflix. So just something a series
Some drama.
that is sort of entertaining, not particularly thoughtful. I mean, just entertaining.
Yeah.
That just that take my mind out of the day and just put it in pause
Yeah, park
for
it
that
for the
time.
night so that
Yeah.
you can get a good night's sleep. That's so good. Let's see here. What's your latest kind of quick and healthy, semi-healthy go-to meal? Could be for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but like, what's something that you're like, I can count on this to be nourishing and energizing?
Oh,
You can either make it or buy it. Doesn't matter to me.
well, that's a good. Well, I like a lot of vegetables. So
Mm.
vegetables is something that I like a lot. So always carrots, radishes are always part of salads, are part of the diet. And we usually make our dinners and always a mixture of vegetables and fruits, and that's sort of what we always try to incorporate in our diet.
Sounds colorful and yummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I mean we try to mix it, sort of have fish and sort of meat and not too much, but just the mix of things, try to have as healthy as we can, but that's sort of our diet, trying to make it varied with vegetables and
I love it.
fruits.
Okay, this is not a trick question, but I got to ask you, like, how do you, for your self-care, how do you incorporate technology into your healthy habits?
Oh gosh.
Are there tech tools that you use to be healthy and happy?
Well, technology in the sense that music is always something that is in the background. So having access to podcasts or just having access, going for a walk and listening to music, or listening to a podcast. Those are the things that I really
Do you
enjoy.
have a favorite podcast that you subscribe to that you enjoy listening to for your health and happiness?
Yeah, I mean, one of the podcasts that I enjoy, and is sort of how I built this with Guy Ross. That's something that I always enjoy, listening to stories of another entrepreneurs, how they and the other one that is, I believe, from a similar programming is Business Wars.
Business Wars.
And I find it always fascinating when they tell the story through several chapters of two companies, so Nike and Adidas, and the fight that they had all those years, and how they keep competing. I just find fascinating the stories, how companies came to be, grow, maintain, and sometimes they disappear for a while and then reemerge. So yeah, I just find it entertaining and fascinating.
And energizing for you, I'm sure, as an entrepreneur, to kind of listen to that and be like, okay, I can keep doing this. Other people have done this. It's, you found your community there. Is there so any parting words, kind of things that you want to leave caregivers with, Paula? And how do people learn more about the CareLink 360 and keep in touch with you?
Thank you. I think the important thing is to think about, and I've been reflecting a lot lately about how you to understand what the other person is going through as a caregiver, as also as a care recipient, that you can put yourself, what your loved one is going through when they need care, and also that the people that surround you understand where you are coming from. I think many times we put ourselves and we don't reflect on what the other is feeling. And I think just reflecting on that, again, as a care recipient and as a caregiver, if we just think a little bit, 1 minute before we react, I think we're all going to have a better life, and we'll be able to manage the challenges a little bit better, and have less misunderstanding with others.
Yeah, well said, well said. And how do people keep in touch?
Sure, please go to mycarelink360.com, and you will find all the information about us and how to contact us. So mycarelink360.com.
Amazing.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
And we will link to it. I'm a fan, Paula. I love this product. I love that, I knew about it when it was early kind of on, and to see where you have taken it and the things that is being added onto it, and how it can be such a gift for a mutual gift for a caregiver and their care recipient. Like, amazing. So I appreciate you so much, and I value our friendship.
Me too, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to learning about all the people that are interested and the care economy, and how I can support them.
Well, I know they're going to be in good hands. Thank you so much, Paula. Thanks for joining us today on the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast on the Whole Care Network. As always, show notes that accompany today's episode can be found on my website, happyhealthycaregiver.com. Just look under the podcast menu for today's episode image, and that will take you to the page with the links and information we spoke about today. You'll also find other resources on the website, along with links to purchase the Just For You Daily Self-Care Journal. When you purchase from my website, you'll get a signed copy, and for a limited time, free shipping. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider subscribing to the show on your podcast platform. It really helps other family caregivers find the podcast, and you'll automatically receive our bi-weekly shows in your podcast listening queue. Maybe while you're subscribing, consider leaving a 5-star rating and review, or just simply talk it up on your social channels. Let's stay connected. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Happy Healthy Caregiver. And until we meet again, please take care of you.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.